All right, our title today is Factor. Factor. That's my symbol for and, kind of like a plus. It's a plus, but it's not a plus. And distribute. Factor and distribute. Distribute. Factor and distribute. You know, we have the distributive property and we have factoring. Factoring is like greatest common factor, for example. The title is Factor and Distribute, but I'm going to start with distribute first. Distribute. Because we're familiar with it. Okay, now please just follow along. Don't write the answer yet. So we have 2 parentheses 2x plus 3. Okay, so this is our problem. So write that down. That's our problem. But now mentally, what we do, mentally, we'll write this down this one time. We do 2 times 2x, right? This is what we do mentally. 2 times 2x. Right? This is what we do, 2 times 2x. And then we do 2 times positive 3. So I'm gonna just put my little, I'm using colors here, so. Right? We multiply 2 times each one of those terms. And then we get our answer. 2 times 2 is 4x. 2 times 2 is 4x. 2 times 3 is 6. And that's our answer. Okay, so that's distributing. That's distributive property right there. Now to the side, we'll do factoring. Okay, you may want to wait till I write something here. So we're going to do factoring here, but we're going to put some stuff in between there. So, for example, from distribute to factoring, what it basically is, it's reverse. It's reverse. It's the opposite. I'll enlarge that so you can see that. It's the opposite. It's reverse. We're going to go in reverse order. So we have distribute and factoring, or factor, and they are reverse of each other. This is where we're going to write that's the problem, and we'll write the problem there. So I'm going to write the word problem. Put a little arrow. Problem. Then we have what's done mentally. Mental, right? And then another. This is what we're doing mentally. And then this is the answer. So we have our problem. This is the problem. Then mentally, we do this step here, mentally. And then we have the answer. Now, when we do our problems, we won't have to do all this mental stuff. We can do this in our mind, not write on paper. Okay, now let's write over to on the right-hand side, what are the steps for factoring? These are the steps for distributing, distributive property. Now let's do the steps for factoring. Okay, this is our problem that we're going to have. It's going to be 4x plus 6. Now what we're trying to do here when factoring is, if you remember, we have the greatest common factor, GCF. That is the number that goes into both of these. What number will fit into 4 and 6? Well, that would be 2. 2 goes into both 4 and 6. So the number 2 goes into 4 and 6. 2 goes into 4 twice, right? 2x. Isn't 2 times 2x 4x? And then isn't 2 times 3 6? Okay, now this is what we're supposed to do mentally. We find the greatest common factor. It's 2. 2 is the greatest common factor. Now this is the tricky part. I'm going to put parentheses. Well, first of all, notice that since they both have 2, I'm going to pull this out. I know there's nothing to pull it out of, but it's like I'm pulling it out, and I'm going to have 2x here. And then if I pull a 2 out of here, I'm going to have just a 3 left over. And that's it. This is the answer. Okay, I'm getting my colors mixed up here. There we go. So you started with this, and you end up with this. Okay, now compare the two, and you will see that it's just the reverse. Here, you start off with 2 times 2x plus 3, and you end up with 2 times 2x plus 3. And when you finish, you end up with this answer, which is the same as this problem. So you're going backwards, right? You're going in reverse. But you don't have to do all this mental steps. You don't have to write that out. That's just what we do mentally. I just want you to see that. Okay, so now that you have that picture, we'll do some examples down below. Okay, so here's what we're doing. When factoring, we're looking for, here's factoring. We're looking for the greatest common factor. And then you're going to have some number. And then plus or minus some other number. I don't know if you're familiar with that symbol there. That means plus or minus. All right, so this is what it's going to look like when we're done. The greatest common factor on the outside, then you have some number, plus or minus some other number. There's usually an X in there. Okay, now we can start factoring. Okay, our first problem is 12x minus 3. 12x minus 3, and we want to factor that. So, first thing you want to do is put down parentheses. I don't know why I said that like that. All right, then let's put the greatest common factor on the outside. So what goes into both 12 and 3? What number, smaller number, goes into both 12 and 3? The biggest number you can. That would be 3. 3 goes into both of these. 3. So we'll put 3 on the outside. That's the greatest common factor. And then we have 3 times, 4x? 3 times 4x is 12x. And 3 times -1 is negative 3. And that is the answer. That's all you can do. You know what? I think I'll just leave it instead of circling. I think I'll just leave it like that. Actually, I better circle it. That's just the rules I've made. I will stick to my own rules. That's it. So this is factored. If we were to do distributive property, we would go backwards. Okay, number 2 is 5x minus 10. So our first step is to figure out, well, what goes into both of them? Let's put our parentheses here. And then now we need to figure out what number goes on the outside. What goes into both 5 and 10? What's the biggest number that goes into both 5 and 10? 5 does. 5 goes into both of those. And if you want to, you just go backwards. 5 times something is 5x. 5 times x. If you want to put a 1, you can. 5 times something is negative 10. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Done. And that's it. That's factoring. It's distributive property reverse. Okay, number 3. So 12x minus 16. First, I'll put my parentheses there. All right, so now we have to decide what's going to go into 12 and 16. What goes into both 12 and 16? The biggest number? That would be 4. This is the greatest common factor that goes into both 12 and 16, is 4. All right, so now we have 4 times something is 12x. 4 times 3x is 12x. 4 times something is negative 16. 4 times negative 4 is negative 16. And that's done. That's factored. We basically factored out a 4 from both those terms. We factored out a 4. Okay, number 4, we have 2x minus 4. Okay, so I'm going to put my little parentheses there. Oops, move it up there. So put the parentheses there. Decide what number, what's the greatest common factor of 2 and 4. That would be 2. 2 goes into both of those. And so, 2 times something is 2x. Just x. 2 times x is 2x. Yes, there's the invisible, miserable 1. Then we have 2 times something is negative 4. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And that's your answer. That's all you can do. It is factored. I've reached the bottom of my paper, so I'm going to go back up close to the top. Okay, number 5, we have 3x plus 9. So let's see, I'm going to put my parentheses there. And the greatest common factor of 3 and 9, greatest common factor is 3. So we have 3 times something is 3x. That would just be 3 times x, right? 3 times x is 3x. Remember, that's the invisible 1 right there. Then we have 3 times something is 9. 3 times 3 is 9. And that's it. Done. That is factoring. Okay, number 6. (4x minus 18). All right, I'll put my parentheses. All right, what number goes into both 4 and 18? The greatest common factor. 4 does not go into 18, so it can't be 4. So it must be 2. 2 goes into both of those. Okay, so now we have 2 times something is 4x. 2 times 2x is 4x. And 2 times something is negative 18. 2 times 9, negative 9, is negative 18, or minus 18. Okay, don't write anything, just watch before we do our last problem. Before we do our last problem, take a look at this. If we have 2 times 3, now what about if I go reverse? Reverse of times 3 would be like this. Excuse me a second. So don't write this, just look at it a minute. Reverse. If you start with 2, times it by 3, you get 6. You start with 6, you divide it by 3. See, instead of times 3, I divide by 3. I do the reverse. The answer I get is what I started with on this problem. Over here, plus 3. The reverse of plus 3 is subtract 3. I start with 2, I end with 5. I start with 5, I end with 2. It's reverse. Plus 3 minus 3 are reverse. Times 3 divide 3 are reverse. Distributive and factoring, they are reverse of each other. They're reversed. They go the opposite. Okay, so I just want to clarify that before we do our last example. Okay, last one, number 7. (10x plus 22). All right, I'll first put parentheses. Find the greatest common factor. The largest number that goes into 10 and 22. Can't be 10. It's either 2 or 5. It has to be 2. 2 goes into both of those. 2 is the greatest common factor. 2 times something is 10x. 2 times something is 10. Right? 2 times 5x. I know this is positive. 2 times something is 22. 11. And that is our answer. We just factored. We factored out a 2. And that's all we can do to that. So now you know the difference between factoring and distribute.